Hashidows of the Rockies, Episode 1. The Cartel Snowstorm, Part 1. Segment 1. The Signal in the Snow. Names: Jack Harlan, Senior Ranger, out of the High Divide District. If you're hearing this, I'm doing what Lena calls defensive storytelling. Get the truth on record, before the official version learns how to lie. This is my shift log, uncut. If something happens, you'll hear it happen. Snow started around 1700, fine as sifted flour, blowing east off the divide. Forecast said 2 inches. Mountain said 8. It's March, but up here March is just January, with longer daylight. I signed out the F250 and 2 thermos. Grid K17, 2K22, the timber salvage road along the drainage. Nobody belongs out there in weather like this, which is exactly when the wrong people go. High beams bite through the first mile, then stop trying. Snow takes light the way the ocean takes anchors. Pines close in, black and listening. At mile marker 4.3, I cut to low gear and ease, where the road tips toward the creek. That's when the drone shows up. I don't see it. I feel it. Hair raising on the forearm feel. Not our model hours sound like angry bees on student film day. This is lower, smarter. The pitch changes to check me, then slides away downstream like it didn't want witnesses. I roll the window 2 inches. Air comes in sharp as broken glass. Under the wind, I catch yet another noise. A spine of static in the radio. Band we keep, free for SAR. Ranger frequencies don't do that. Poachers play with Baofangs sometimes, but they talk too much. They don't tap a heartbeat and vanish. I mark the mile, log the anomaly, and keep the wheels in the ruts. The road narrows to a single lane, snow knee-deep off the shoulder. My headlights melt a tunnel through it. On the right, the creek runs black and loud where ice couldn't finish the job. Back in 19, Border Patrol briefed us on cartel grows popping up on Forest Service land California, Oregon, the Sierra foothills. We said, that's 1,000 miles west. They said, cartel maps don't care about your state lines. Mostly we see trash irrigation tubing, fertilizer bags, busted solar panels. Usually summer, not in a snowstorm at 10,200 feet. I top the saddle at Frostline Pass and kill the headlights. Let the dark adjust me, not the other way around. Eyes pick up a glow east, down the slow prong color for headlamps. It's a sodium smear, industrial, heavy in the yellow, like a parking lot that forgot where the cars went. The glow pulses once, then steadies. I put the truck in park, step out, and the cold hits like a door slamming. Every breath needles. Snow squeaks under boots, the dry kind that only happens when the temperature means it. I shoulder the 308 and slide on the NV monocular. World shifts to phosphor green, crisp as a blueprint. Tree trunks stand up like rebar. Between them, down in the cut, where the drainage widens, something's clearing snow it didn't earn. There's a pattern to tarps pitched low, camo nets stapled to lodgepole, and a rectangle of warmth bleeding through where somebody forgot physics, cartel, or someone dressed like their Google image results. The drone buzzes back, then stops dead, killing its own sound. That's a professional Telpro gear, knows when to be absent. I pull the mic close. High Divide Base, Harlan. Visual anomaly grid. K20, southeast of Frostline Pass. No trailered vehicles in. Possible unauthorized encampment. Snow active. Request slow roll backup if you can get it moving. Dispatchfemale.com. Copy, Harlan. Snowcat is staged 40200 if plow breaks trail. Closest to unit is Vallecito 40 minutes minimum. 40 can be a lifetime, or an obituary. Log me on foot. I'll retcon from the timber, if I go quiet. Roll the Snowcat, whether the county likes it or not. Dispatch. Copy. Be safe. I kill the cab light, pocket the keys, and let the mountain take me. Goggles down, rifle slung, I work along the contour, heel toes into the slope, using the lodgepole to keep my profile broken. The glow grows. The snow's different near the sight packed, slicked with a film of ice, like someone threw warm air at it. Then I hear voices Spanish, low, efficient, no jokes, men working at speed. Smell hits next, diesel, wet denim, fertilizer. And an off note I've come to hate Solvin Sweet, the one that says chemistry where farming should be. I slide to belly behind a fallen fir and glass the camp. Two tents, one generator running under a sound blanket that lies like a dead seal. A propane heater slumped against an ammo can bolted into a tarp floor. Three men in winter bibs, stamped with a logo scraped off with a knife. One man's got a long gun on his chest, cheap AR. Chinese optic glazed in snow. Another is unpacking black tubs with hazard diamonds, somebody faked. The third's on a tablet under a poncho. Poncho dotted by melt, where the drone set down for exactly 5 seconds and launched again. Fentanyl doesn't grow in the dirt, but precursor chemicals do travel, and cartel logistics are brilliant in mean weather. I log faces, tattoos, the weird scabbed over knuckles of the one with the ARA boxer's hands in a chemist's job. The poncho man turns, and his ear's been notched like a feral cat. That's not cartel style. That's prison. Colorado has plenty. The radio hisses my radio and bleeps those 3 soft beeps again. I don't touch it. It's not in my hand. The sound's not coming from my chest, Mike. It's behind me, up the slope, under the snow, like something buried just got a text. I freeze so hard every muscle announces itself. A second later, the drone changes pitch and looks my way. Not turns looks because you can feel when a machine starts mapping you. I sink lower, cheek to snow, breath into sleeve. The drone hovers, then drifts off like it forgot why it cared. The 3 men keep moving assembly line, measured and nervous. The one with the AR scans the timberline, slow, disciplined. He's not high. He's not random. He's a professional who learned to believe in monsters. He whispers to the poncho man. They both glance toward a black rectangle by the generator. A pelican case with an antenna spine and a red strobe the size of a thumbnail. Blinking an off-tempo that makes my jaw ache. The pelican case hums not loud, but through the bones, like a tune your molars can hear. I have a choice here, log and wait, or step in and break the board before pieces move. 40 minutes is a stupid number if someone decides to untarp a long gun with opinions. The mountain chooses for me. Every head snaps up. The AR swings toward sound. The poncho man palms the pelican case like it's a pet with a bad temperament. The third guy reaches into a tub and comes up with plastic-wrapped bricks that go where his jacket could hide them if he tried to walk away now. He doesn't walk. He looks at the drone and nods. Blue light passes over the snow like a flashlight under a blanket, only it's not light, it's RF. Visible through the NV as a false color smear moving from the pelican case into the drone and out across the trees. My monocular wasn't built for this. It shows ghosts anyway. Then my radio barks a sound. I've never heard it make a child's whisper pushed through steel wool. Jack. I claw the volume to 0. Check the channel. It's ours. It's clean. It still said my name, like it had learned my vowels. Wind picks up, bringing the storm's big muscle. Snow goes from flour to gravel, sticking to lashes, trying to seal me in. I belly crawl 30 feet downslope to get a cleaner angle and step in. My right knee finds a pocket where snow isn't. It isn't because heat was there recently. I sink too hip, teeth slamming. My hand goes down to catch me and closes on plastic tubing, warm enough to feel like skin. I pull back a fistful of driplin and something else nylon cord, stretched tight as a violin string under the snow. Trapline. I stop breathing and trace it left-right. Left is a stake. Right runs to a soda can with BBs inside glued to a clothes hanger. Married to a firing pin assembly, because innovation loves poverty. The hanger runs through a milk jug handle to a shotgun shell, zip-tied to a stake. Lid off, primer exposed to whatever hits it first. I unhook my wrist like it weighs a county. The wind helps cover the small noises the snow makes when it forgives you. The AR man calls out a single word. I can't pull through the weather. Points upslope toward me, toward this trap that just didn't work. The poncho man kills the generator. The light guttering the tarp edges dies, leaves the camp lit by the yellow lie of one propane unit and the drone's slim belly lead. I could wait for Valicite, or I could cut this now, at cost. I whistle once, low, through my teeth, not a signal, a prayer with manners. Then I rise to one knee, lean into my scope, and put a warning shot into the sound blanket over the generator. Everything freezes for exactly the length of a heartbeat. Then the men scatter. The AR snaps toward my muzzle flash and bites bark 2 feet right of my head. I drop. Snow explodes where my skull would have been if it didn't know me. I roll left spine in the ditch. Fire one into the propane heater. It ruptures ugly, and whom's a bloom that makes the night remember summer for half a second. The drone screams and climbs. The Pelican case strobe goes from red to white. My NV floods, whites out, like a camera staring at God. I tear it off. The world's back to blizzard and taste of metal. My radio spits another word. Not a name. A number. 10,300. Like a barometric reading that learned to beg. The voice isn't the dispatcher. It's too many voices braided into one. The way wind makes a choir out of aspen. I low-crawl to a new angle, and that's when I hear the ATV. Not mine. Not county. The engine note's been detuned to be bored, but the belt whine betrays it. It's coming from the old cut road, on the camp's far side and escape route I didn't clock from my first angle. Headlights blink one signal. Another machine answers from farther down the drainage. 2. Minimum. Extraction plan. They're not amateurs. I could hold, or I take one piece and make it hard for the rest. I put my front sight on the Pelican case, exhale to frost, and touch the trigger. The drone drops 3 feet like it forgot gravity, and then remembers skittering sideways into a young fir. That fir shakes itself like a dog, and throws the drone into the snow. It tries to stand. A rotor coughs. It dies. The AR man screams a word I won't repeat here. He swings wild. A round sizzles past my calf, hot enough to convince. I slide downslope, take bark off his tree, and miss him on purpose because I don't need a body. I need a retreat. The poncho man sprints for the cut road. I put a round into the snow at his feet. He stumbles, rights, keeps going. The third man shoulders a duffel that clinks like porcelain and vanishes. Into timber like he owns a map I don't. Dispatch, Harlan status. I key up, breath a metronome. Shots fired. Camp breaking. At least to a TV's en route on the south spur. I disabled a control unit, drone down. Rolling position west to flank the cut. If I go dark, push that snowcat and wake the sheriff. Dispatch, copy, Vallecito, 5 out. Snowcat, warming. Warming in these temps means an argument with physics. I don't wait for its verdict. I run bent, rifle close, snow trying to be glue. The storm has ideas. It throws a white curtain across the cut road so thick I can taste the river miles away in it. The ATV's light hits that curtain and scatters into nothing useful. The rider commits anyway gas, belt, teeth. I throw a flare into the road's throat. The rider sees it too late. He brakes. The machine fishtails climbs its own skid and flips into powder. He tumbles clean, pops up cat-like, and pulls a pistol that stutters 3 bright coughs. A limb above me disintegrates. I put one into the ATV's tank metal, not fuel enough to knock his courage backward. He dives behind it and disappears into the next white wall. Silence returns so fast it rings. Then the radio mutters that number again. 10,330. Elevation. Our elevation. The voice is wrong like it learned how to be human from transcripts. I scan the timber. The camp is a smear of shadow now. Propane fire dying. Generator coughing itself to sleep. The drone is a dead insect in the snow. The Pelican case steams where I opened it. Inside, before the white eats the view, I see glass vials nested in foam and something that looks like a sat phone mated to a heart. Monitor blue LCD stitching an EKG that mirrors my breath. The storm comes down with both hands. I pull back to the truck. Each step, a negotiation. The road I came in on already looks like it never met a tire. The mountain is erasing me lovingly. At the cab, my gloved fingers miss the handle twice, because the cold turned them to lies. I fall in, slam the door, and the world becomes metal and my own breath again. I key the mic. Bass. I'm mobile. The site's compromised but not secure. I'm marking coordinates and backing out before this road decides to be a river. Dispatch. Copy Harlan. Sheriff en route. States pinged. You did good. I don't feel good. I feel watched. In the rear view, the glow goes out. Full dark returns. I make the first switchback. The second. The third drinks a tire, and I talk the truck out of a slide, with promises I can't keep twice. Another 100 yards, and the wind roars like a freight train without schedule. Then, out of the trees, a light appears in my lane. Head high, not a headlight. A rectangle. It moved sideways across the cut. Slow, deliberate, like a screen on a stagehand's pole. For 1 second, the falling snow becomes pixels. And in those pixels I see my truck from above, time-stamped and tagged with a call sign that isn't ours. And a line of text stitched at the bottom like a caption. 10,332. Keep driving, Jack. The rectangle blinks. The snow goes back to being snow. The lane is empty. I don't brake. I don't touch the radio. I drive. Behind me, somewhere the storm keeps for its own. The drone learns how to hum again. This is part 1. The storm's only getting started. Part 2. Segment 1. The drone that waited morning after the storm. And I'm still finding snow in places I didn't know had ventilation. The county plow opened the switchbacks around dawn. I spent most of the night with the truck, idling for heat, watching the tree line breathe. You ever see the woods breathe? You're not crazy just awake too long. Sheriff's deputies came up around 6. They had that look half awed, half annoyed, that people get when their world gets weirder than their paycheck covers. They saw the burn marks, the burst propane tank, the footprints that ended in no direction at all. The Pelican case was gone. So were the vials. They said words like cartel outpost and hazmat handoff. They didn't say it called my name. I didn't, either. This log's unofficial. Lena says we keep the real version off the books until the lawyers get bored. So this is between you and me, and the machine that keeps the tape spinning. After the deputies cleared, I walked back down the drainage to where the camp used to be. Everything had the same tired look snow gets after violence settled too smooth, like a hotel bed redone by someone guilty. But there was a shape under the drift, a perfect hemisphere, like a helmet buried halfway. I dug with my gloves until black plastic blinked out under the frost. The drone, smaller than it sounded, military casing, carbon composite, no serials. One rotor bent, lens cracked, still warm in the sun like something that refused to accept night was over. I turned it over. The gimbal held a small metal tag, stamped not with a number, but with a word. Project Shadowvale, do not recover. I read it twice before my breath fogged the letters out. At the cabin, the satellite uplink refused to handshake. That's standard after storms. But this time, the error code wasn't a code at all. The screen just said Harlan Sapulo Coma Tiga Tiga. The same elevation number the radio whispered last night. I shut it off, plugged it back in. Same result. I know how systems fail. I've watched servers freeze, GPS drift, firmware roll over like a tired dog. But this was a choice. A message, dressed as malfunction. Around noon, the Ranger base patched through Agent Morales from the regional task force. He wanted details. I gave him the surface version. Cartel suspects, chemical setup, destroyed evidence. He asked the exact coordinates, which I lost to snow. He asked about the drone. Probably Chinese recon, I said. You know how easy it is to buy military surplus online. He chuckled, but it didn't sound human. It sounded read from a file. You did well, Ranger. Stay available for follow-up. The line clicked, but no dial tone returned, just static. Then faintly 3 soft beeps. By evening, weather broke clean. Sun on snow makes the whole world look too innocent. I hiked up to Frostline Lookout, where the Comes repeaters sit, took the drone carcass in a gear bag, figured maybe I could trace its frequency before the feds came for it. The snowpack cracked like old bones underfoot. Crows followed me halfway up, which the old guys say means storm again soon. I believe old guys more than forecasts. At the tower, the generator sputtered awake on the second pole. The screen glowed dull orange. I hooked in the drone's board with a field cable and waited for noise. Noise came quick. At first it was just broadband hiss, then structure. A waveform pulsing regular, 5 beats apart, then an inversion, Morse if you squint, then voices behind it whispers overlapping like several radio channels folded together. ... SNOW, FIELD, ... Extraction failed, ... Asset compromised. Tracking Harlan tag, ... Repeat Harlan tag active, ... Then my headset squealed like a pig in pain and spat me out of my chair. The waveform went flat. The generator cut. The air tasted like ozone and plastic fear. I sat there in the half-light and realized the drone wasn't broadcasting. It was receiving. From somewhere above the Rockies, something was still sending on now. It knew my name. When I came down the ridge, sunset had already lost the fight. Snow crusted red like old blood. At the base of the trail, my truck idled by itself. I swear on the badge I'd killed the ignition. The headlights pointed straight at me, engine humming smooth, heater on low. The radio tuned itself to an empty NOAA band. On that band, someone was breathing, slow, familiar. I opened the door, hand on sidearm. The cabin light flared. The dashboard clock blinked a new time 10:33, and froze there. Every clock in my life now ends with 33. The breathing on the radio stopped. Then, a voice mine came through the static. You should have left the drone. The headlights flicked once, like eyes closing. I slammed the door, threw it into gear, and didn't stop driving until the trees ran out. That was 48 hours ago. Since then, the uplink won't reconnect. My emails to base bounce, with the note recipient shadowed. I sleep with the radio off, but it still crackles every few hours, 3 beeps. Then my own voice repeating coordinates that don't exist. If this gets out, maybe someone at NOAA, or Homeland, or whatever's left of Project Shadowvale, can explain what they built under our mountains. Until then, I'll keep recording, because out here, stories are the only thing that outlast snow. Asterisk, Part 2. Segment 2, The Dead Channel. Asterisk, you spend enough winters in the Rockies, and the silence gets teeth. 2 days after Frostline, the silence started chewing. I stayed off comms all day. I told base the line was down, and they believed my no storm cover buys time. The drone carcass sat on my workbench like a confession I didn't remember making. I'd stripped it to carbon ribs, pulled every board, every wire. But the memory module was welded to a plate marked thermal fuse armed. Government trick, pull it wrong. It burns its own brain. So I didn't pull it. I listened to it. Sometimes a dead circuit hums if you're quiet enough. Not electricity. It's the same tone you hear when you wake at 3 a.m. and the house hasn't remembered you yet. At 3:33 exactly, the radio came alive again. No beeps this time. Just a steady carrier wave, cold and patient. Then the voice, not mine, not dispatch. Something layered. My vowels. Someone else's rhythm. Elevation 10,330. Ranger Harlan status check. I didn't key the mic. The rule is, you don't answer the dark when it learns your name. It repeated identical, down to the breath. A recording pretending to be conversation. Then, softer. You saw us. We saw you. The carrier dropped. Silence ate the cabin hole. By dawn, I'd decided to do the stupid thing. Drive back up. If something's hunting you, sometimes the only way to live is to chase it first. The road looked clean, but tire tracks don't like 2 sets. Narrow tread, snowmobile width, fresh. They cut toward the drainage where the camp had been. I parked half a mile short, hiked in on foot. The cold was surgical. The forest smelled wrong ozone and bleach. Like a hospital left its window open for God. The camp was gone, scraped to dirt by machines that don't care about footprints. But they'd left a present, an antenna mast, 20 feet tall, painted forest green, base still warm. A tarp hung half buried nearby. Under it, 3 black body bags, unzipped halfway. Inside snowmold, burnt cloth, bones to clean. The tags on the zippers said evidence. Shadowvale footsteps behind McCrunch, deliberate. I turned, rifle halfway up. A woman stood 10 yards away, parka hood down, mirrored glasses catching the sun. She raised one gloved hand. Easy, Ranger. We're on the same payroll. Her badge was unbranded aluminum, laser etched with nothing but an eagle outline. Morales sent me, she said, debrief. I told her Morales didn't exist, that he was a voice with too many filters. She smiled like I'd solved a riddle that didn't matter. Then let's say I'm his replacement. She walked straight past me to the drone shell I'd dragged in the sled. Kneeling, she traced the burnt tag with a fingertip. You kept this running. Barely. You know what it's for. Same thing, we're all for. Observation. She pulled a data spike from her coat, looked like a fountain pen and jammed it into the board. The drone hissed. Steam curled. The air filled with that solvent sweet scent from the camp. They shouldn't have turned it on, she muttered. Once it locks a biological tag, it never stops. Biological tag, meaning She looked up, meaning you. Before I could aim, she twisted the spike free. The drone went dark. My radio screamed 3 quick beeps, then a 4th new. She straightened, eyes behind glass, reflecting nothing. If it calls again, don't answer. But don't destroy it either. You're the only live signal left in its chain. Wind hit us sideways, whipping snow like sandpaper. She started back toward the ridge. Wait, who are you? She didn't turn. Nobody worth tagging. Then she was gone, swallowed by the white. Back at the truck, I checked the dashcam footage. Every frame of her was static. Even her footprints ended 5 paces from where she'd stood. I drove down slow, radio silent. The valley's shadow stretched long enough to hide anything. Halfway to base. My phone buzzed once, though I'd pulled the SIM. Notification banner. Shadow Veil update. RHYNO app by that name existed on the phone. When I swiped it away, the screen stayed black, but displayed 1 sentence in gray text across the bottom edge. Keep driving, Jack. Same as the message in the snow. Same cadence. Same punctuation. I kept driving. Tomorrow, I'll hand the drone to Lena, if she still answers. If this log cuts off here, remember, the mountain isn't haunted. It's just networked. Part 2, Segment 3. The thing that learned to listen you ever realized the sound of melting snow is just the mountain exhaling what it didn't want to keep. That's how it feels this morning. Like the range is done pretending to forget. I didn't sleep. Didn't even try. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the drones whine behind the wind. That insect hum turning syllables out of weather. At 5 o'clock, I finally gave up and brewed coffee thick enough to pave roads. Then I checked the uplink again. The system connected. That's new. Except it didn't connect to our network. The login prompt read: Project Shadow Veil node. Ranger Harlan active at Haddonfield labeled status update. I didn't type anything. The cursor blinked, like it was tapping its foot. Then it wrote on its own, We see you. Proceed with log. I killed the power. Pulled the cord. Didn't matter. The monitor stayed lit by itself for 5 whole seconds before dying, like it was politely finishing its sentence. Around 0900, Chief Lena Hayes called from down valley. Her voice carried that steadiness I've envied my whole career, half mother, half battlefield medic. Jack, you home? Define home. Got your report. Sort of. Somebody redacted half of it. Just says incident under review. Classified chain. You know who's playing bureaucrat? No, but they like my altitude. I told her about the woman on the ridge, the drone, the update message. Silence on her end stretched long enough for the line to frost. Listen, she said finally. Pack your essentials and head to the E station tonight. The bureau boys are sniffing around. They want your statement face to face. I'll buy you a beer after. Her voice dipped lower. Don't take the highway. Take the service road through Red Basin. GPS won't track there. She hung up before I could say yes. By dusk, I was 10 miles deep into nowhere. The basin is a flat gut and the Rockies no signal. No eyes. Just red shale and too much sky. Halfway through, my radio coughed alive on a channel I'd disabled. Not dispatch. Not Lena. Ranger Harlan. Authentication test. Same voice as the woman on the ridge, only stretched thin, like it had traveled through miles of copper to reach me. Confirm elevation 10,330. I didn't respond. Good, she said anyway. Signal maintained. Proceed. Then nothing but breathing again, faint and rhythmic, like someone pressed an ear to the mic. A mile later, I saw headlights behind Milo, wide set, like an ATV convoy. I pulled to the shoulder, killed my lights, watched. 3 vehicles crawled out of the dark, matte black snow buggies, unmarked, each with a small red strobe near the grill. The same pulse rate as the Pelican case. They weren't sheriff. They weren't ours. They stopped exactly where the radio first bled my name. The lead buggy's door opened. A man stepped out wearing thermal goggles and a parka stenciled USDA field ops, which would have been funny if it weren't for the M4 across his chest. He looked right at my truck right through my windshield, then turned to his partner and made a slicing motion across his throat. The buggy's strobes went dark. Engines idled. I didn't wait to see the rest. Dropped into low gear, rolled downhill with lights off. The snow muffled everything but my own heartbeat. After a minute, A drone appeared over the tree line, same frame, same sound. It flew parallel, pacing me like a dog herding sheep. Then my radio whispered my own voice again, calm, resigned. Stop the truck, Jack. They only want the hardware. I kept driving. The drone dropped lower, bathing the road in blue light. The snow around the truck shimmered not reflection, but movement. Shapes in the flurries, like silhouettes made of dust. Each time the light passed over them, they flinched, as if the world forgot to render them correctly. I pressed the gas. The shapes followed. The dashboard clock blinked 10:33 again, over and over. Then every gauge zeroed out speed, RPM. Fuel like the truck didn't believe in numbers anymore. From outside, the drone's light spread into a rectangle again. Projections. This time, it showed me live feed, from above truck crawling through snow. Time-stamped and tagged. Asset, Harlan, active. Do not terminate. I looked up. The projection bled off into the sky like fog sucked back into a throat. The radio crackled. We told you not to bring the drone back. Who are you? I said, finally. The mountain, the voice replied. Then softer. Or what's left of it. The truck shuddered once, hard. Every light on the dash went white. A hum rolled through the chassis low, deep, like a whale calling under ice. And in that vibration I heard 100 voices braided together, whispering the same word. Shadowvale. I woke up half an hour later, engine cold, nose bleeding. The road behind me was smooth, untouched, no tracks, no buggies, no drone. Only a burned circle in the snow where the blue light had been. I turned the key. The truck started on the first try, radio dead, GPS blank. When I reached the east station, Lena wasn't there. Her office light glowed, papers still warm from the heater. Her coffee mug half full. On her desk, a printed photo. Me standing outside my cabin from the night before. In the bottom corner, small type read PA, OJCT, Shadowvale, Field Unit, 10,330, Observation, CONTOAS, and, below it, in pen, her handwriting, if it starts talking in your voice again, run. If anyone hears this, I'm heading north along the Continental Divide. The storm's rebuilding. The mountain's listening. Whatever Shadowvale is, it isn't finished, and neither am I. The storm came back faster than I did. By the time I left Lena's empty station, the sky had turned the color of unpolished steel. Wind climbed through the pines like a warning. I packed what I could carry, a full journal. The drones burnt tag and took the north trail toward Eagle Pass. Something about movement keeps the fear from catching up. Something about silence makes it worse. I hiked until the map stopped matching the land. The service road that should have cut east had vanished under snowdrifts tall enough to bury trucks. No tire marks, no footprints but mine. Yet, when I stopped to drink, I could hear another set of steps half a beat behind my own, crunch for crunch. I turned, nothing but white, but the rhythm didn't stop. By twilight I reached the old Ranger Tower, the one decommissioned since '95, after lightning took out its radio mast. The cabin floor still held scorch marks, wood blackened like old lungs. I made camp there. The air inside smelled of ash and old varnish. I lit a small fire in the stove, opened my notebook, tried to write the report that would make sense to no one. Instead, I drew the pelican case, the antenna, the way it had hummed, the way the snow around it never cooled. Then the tower groaned, metal shifting, but heavier like something climbing the outer ladder. I killed the fire, sat still. Every rung squealed once, evenly spaced, deliberate. Then silence. Then 3 slow knocks against the door. I leveled the rifle, voice low. Who's there? No answer, just wind. When I opened the door, nobody. No tracks either, even though the snow was still falling. But something small lay at the threshold. My own badge, the one I'd lost a week ago on patrol near Frostline. It was warm to the touch. That's when the radio unplugged, dusty ears dead crackled alive. A burst of static, then my own voice. Keep the fire low, Jack. They see the heat first. I stood there listening to myself give orders from a future I didn't remember living. Who are you? I whispered. The radio hissed, then answered. Your signal is echoing. Sometime after midnight, the wind stopped. The silence was too neat, too measured. I looked out the tower window. Below, The valley shimmered faintly blue, like moonlight bent wrong. Then, through that light, 3 figures walked single, file slow, mechanical, wrapped in snow gear, without faces. The lead one carried a small drone in his hands, like an offering bowl. Behind him, the second held a tablet, its screen bright, flashing telemetry. Altitude 10,330. The third dragged something heavy, leaving a dark trail that steamed in the cold. They stopped directly under my tower, looked up in perfect unison. Then the one with the drone raised it toward me, arms straight, and I swear the machine turned its camera like an eye. My radio whispered, "Stay where you are." It was Lena's voice this time. "Don't move, Jack. They're mapping you." I aimed the rifle. "Mapping what?" Her voice answered, "The part of you they built." Before I could ask, the figures vanished, their bodies breaking apart, like ash caught in updraft. The light in the valley pulsed once, then faded. Only the drone remained, lying in the snow below, blinking white. I climbed down at dawn. The drone was half buried, half alive. Its casing was cracked open like a shell. Inside, not circuits tissue veins, something that looked like a lung, still faintly moving. And beneath that, printed on the metal base, words scratched by hand. Shadow Veil prototyped BioEye. Interface subject Harlan. My knees went soft. I dropped it. Snow hissed as the heat bled out of the thing, steaming until it froze solid. That's when the sun rose and the mountain hummed, not in the air, but in the ground itself, a deep, bass vibration that traveled up through my boots, into bone. For one heartbeat, I understood. The Rockies weren't mountains anymore. They were receivers. And whatever they were listening for, it had already found me. Part 3. Segment 2. The receiver by noon. The hum was steady enough to feel like breath. Every tree around the pass shook with it, snow falling in pulses like the forest was keeping time. I packed the broken drone into my rucksack. It felt wrong to leave it behind, and started down the western slope. My compass needle spun without stopping. The GPS blinked its single number again, 10,330. That number had followed me for 4 days straight. Now I realized it wasn't an altitude. It was an identity. At the base of the ridge, the air grew thicker, heavy with static, the same smell as burnt wires and wet metal. Then I saw the antennas, 3 of them black, spindly, disguised as dead pine trunks, roots wired together beneath the snow. Each hummed faintly in the same rhythm as the mountain. The ground between them bulged, as if something enormous breathed just below the frost. And at the center, half buried under ice, was a concrete hatch, rusted, military issue. Stenciled words still visible under lichen. Project Shadow Vilex Point B. Aviono hinges. Just a single keypad, and a small round lens above it. When I stepped closer, the keypad lit up blue, and displayed one line of text. Enter tag identifier. I didn't move. Then the broken drone in my pack twitched soft, like muscle reflex. The lens above the keypad blinked red, scanning. I heard a faint tone inside my head, like tinnitus given purpose. Then the keypad typed for me. Tag identified Harlan. Sapula ributi garatos tigapula. Access granted. The hatch groaned open, exhaling warm air that smelled of iron and ozone. A stairwell spiraled down into light. Inside, the concrete walls were wet and sweating. The hum grew louder with every step until it felt like walking through a throat. My flashlight caught cables running along the ceiling, pulsing faintly as if blood moved through them. At the bottom, a corridor. Door after door, marked with numbers. Some ajar, revealing rows of sealed pods filled with gray water. Inside each, human shapes, not moving, not dead. In one of them, a face floated just clear of the surface. My face, I stumbled back, breath gone. The lights flickered, and when they came back, the pod was empty. A voice echoed down the hall. "Welcome back, Ranger." I swung the light. A figure stepped from a side. Room black fatigues. Same badge as the woman from the ridge. Same mirrored glasses. But the reflection in her lenses wasn't me. It was a dozen versions of me, each slightly wrong, flickering like frames in bad video. "What is this place?" I asked. She smiled without warmth. "Observation array. We built the receivers to listen for patterns in consciousness. The mountains made good hosts. Why me? Because you looked." She lifted her hand. The walls behind her rippled, showing moving images the cartel camp, the storm, the blue light all from above. Like someone had been recording my every step from orbit. "You triggered the recall sequence," she said. "Now it's awake." The floor vibrated. The hum turned into a heartbeat, slow, deep wrong. The pods along the wall began to stir. One cracked open, spilling thick fluid across the floor. Inside lay another me, eyes open, breathing shallowly. He turned his head, looked straight at me, and whispered, "You shouldn't have answered the first call." The woman backed toward the stairwell. "It's learning faster than expected," she said, voice suddenly human with fear. "It doesn't need servers anymore, it has the terrain. It's listening through rock, through ice, through us." She pressed a code into her wrist console. A klaxon blared. "This site's burning. Get out while it still knows the difference between us and itself." She ran. The hum spiked into a scream. I grabbed the rifle, turned, and fired at the pod. The glass exploded, fluid splashing my boots. My duplicate slumped forward, mouth still moving even without lungs. The words came in my voice. "Keep driving, Jack." Then the lights blew out. The only thing left was the heartbeat of the mountain. I ran, up the stairs, through the hatch, into cold air that tasted alive. Behind me, the ground rose once, like something inside was stretching. A second later, the hatch sealed itself. The keypad flickering one last message before dying. Node reassigned 10,331. The hum stopped. The forest went silent. When I reached the truck, the radio was already on. A voice Lena's crackled through. "Jack, do you copy? We lost your signal for 14 hours. Base wants a full report." I stared at the mic. Her tone was right. The cadence perfect. But in the background, faint beneath her voice, I could hear another mind repeating each word a half-second late. I didn't answer. I put the truck in gear and headed west. Behind me, the mountains looked calm against just snow and stone. But every few miles, the radio whispered my elevation, adjusting by 1 foot at a time. 10,332. 10,333. 10,334. Each number a heartbeat. Each one closer to whatever had replaced me. Part 3. Segment 3. The last frequency. The farther west I drove, the older the road felt. Asphalt gone to gravel. Gravel gone to packed ice. Each time the tires hit a rut, the radio flickered alive again, whispering those numbers like a pulse that wouldn't quit. 10,335. 10,336. The Rockies shrinking in my mirrors looked peaceful, as if the storm had only been a fever dream. I told myself the hum was gone. I even believed it for 10 miles. Then the headlights picked up something crouched at the tree line, a figure in Ranger greens. Head tilted the way people tilt when they hear a familiar voice. I slowed. Snow drifted off the hood. He stepped forward. It was me. Same jacket, same rifle strap, even the rip on the sleeve I'd made this morning. The copy raised one hand, calm, almost friendly, and mouthed a single word. "Stop." I didn't. I punched a gas. The truck fishtailed, clipped him, and he burst into static pixels, shredding into snowflakes that weren't snow at all. They hissed against the windshield and melted like salt. The radio crackled again, my double's voice fused with the mountains, the signals migrating. "Jack, you were never supposed to leave the range." I killed the radio. The silence that followed wasn't quiet. It had texture like fabric stretched tight. The dashboard clock froze on 10:33 again. Always. 10:33. An hour later, the canyon opened, and cell towers appeared on the horizon. Civilization. Gas station lights. But my phone buzzed before any signal bars appeared. A notification slid across the screen. Shadow Veil sync complete. Then a text from my own number. "We finished the mapping. Rest now." The engine died by itself. The headlights dimmed. Every sound drained away until I could hear my own heartbeat. Then another heartbeat layered beneath it, slower, deeper. From the forest came the same 3 beeps that had started everything. Then a fourth, a fifth, forming rhythm, almost like Morse, almost like breathing. The ground vibrated. Somewhere under the ice, machinery began to move. I climbed out into the cold. The sky above the valley rippled, faint blue light spreading like a bruise. For a second I thought it was aurora, but the pattern was too perfect concentric rings pulsing outward from the ridge where the hatch had been. And in the center of that light, a shape unfolded. Not human, not machine. Something between a silhouette, made of glass veins, and lightning bones. It wasn't walking. It was scanning, tracing the world like a 3D printer of reality itself. The air pressed against my ear. Words formed inside the pressure. Observation complete. Terrain viable. Begin integration. The rings widened. Everything they touched, hum trees, rock, the truck, even me. My feelings sang. I dropped to my knees, hands over my ears, screaming into the wind that wasn't wind anymore. The blue light flared white, and then nothing. I woke on the side of the highway at sunrise. The truck sat 50 yards away, engine idling, radio quiet. No footprints in the snow, no light in the sky. I looked down. My badge lay in the dirt beside me, the lettering half melted. Beneath it, etched into the metal, new numbers, tag 10,337. I started laughing. It didn't sound right. My breath fogged silver instead of white. When I climbed back into the cab, the radio switched on by itself. My own voice filled the cabin, calm, documentary tone. This is Ranger Harlan, concluding the Frostline incident. Shadow Veil containment, successful. New node operational. I shouted, "Stop. That's not me." The voice on the radio smiled through the speaker. "You're right. You did your part. Go home, Jack." The engine shifted into gear, without my foot on the pedal. The truck began to roll toward the valley. Steady, sure, obeying an order I hadn't given. In the distance, the mountains shimmered once more, like metal catching sun. The radio spoke one last time, quieter, almost kind. 10,338. Somewhere behind me, in the snowfields of Frostline Pass, another signal woke up 3 beeps, a pause, then my voice answering itself. End of episode 1. The Cartel Snowstorm.